Okay, it says that we are live, and hopefully this new setup will work out today. Today we're going to do a video reaction. Today's topic is Frankenstein. Do looks matter? That's the title of today's video. And this guy, we're going to do a video reaction. This guy is going to be telling the story of Frankenstein. And so I'll be commenting and giving commentary on it throughout the video. So without further ado, oh yeah, man, I am so forgetful. Oh my gosh, my own tagline, my own intro. I forgot to include my own intro in this thing. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. Good afternoon. Buckle up, get ready for takeoff. Today, we're flying the direction of Frankenstein. Yes, our destination today is Frankenstein. Do looks matter? Absolutely. So this is going to be a video reaction to this guy's video here. He's going to be telling the story of Frankenstein. He's going to give his input, and I'm going to give my input. Yes, looks matter. Why do some guys get shitted on? Because they're fat, bald, unattractive, with buck teeth. Yeah, looks do matter in this society. Why didn't I get a raise? Why didn't I get a promotion? Well, it's because of looks. They say we're not supposed to be that way. Well, humans are this way. And I would argue with this way even when it comes to buying houses, cars. Why do we like going to state parks? Because they're beautiful. We hate McDonald's because they look like shoeboxes. We like touring foreign countries because they have beautiful scenery. Mountains and the buildings just are more attractive. It's just the way we are. And everything. It's not just people, but aesthetics. Humans like things that are attractive. We always have. So without further ado, let's tell the story of Frankenstein. He's going to tell the story of Frankenstein and how this relates to being attractive and unattractive. So, all right, let's get into it. Let's start from the beginning.
Told you when you were a kid. We all know it's a lie. Pretty people get paid more. They win more elections. Attractive defendants even receive lesser jail time. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein exposes this lie and shows us that looks do matter. And it's even stronger than this because it's not just our...
Yes, what he said so far is 100% accurate. Attractive people do better. Jeremy Meeks was what? He's one example, but yeah, they just do better overall. Look at your top streamers, look at your top YouTubers, your top content creators. Even the women, they go out of their way to look beautiful. They fix their hair. The men try to work out at the gym, and that's true. It's absolutely true.
Outsides are more important than our insides. It's that, in some sense, our outsides are our insides. That beauty is goodness, and the ugly are wicked. In this video, you're going to learn why being ugly makes you a bad person, the forgotten discipline of physiognomy.
Okay, it's not just Frankenstein, but remember the Brothers Grimm and their fairy tales, Cinderella, Snow White. Ugly people are seen as wicked, and look at the Wicked Witch. She's supposed to be ugly and green and wicked. Well, but the princess is young and beautiful, and Prince Charming is young and handsome and attractive. Does Prince Charming come on a horse? Is he fat, bald, buck teeth? No, of course not. He looks handsome and attractive. It's just, even the Brothers Grimm and all their fairy tales, same thing. Same thing.
And what all this means for you living in an appearance-obsessed world. First, some context. So, Shelley's Frankenstein tells the story about a very young and gifted scientist, Victor Frankenstein, Frankenstein has figured out a way to create life, and so his scientific hubris leads him to want to become the first human to create another human by artificial means. And so over a span of 2 years, Frankenstein labors at night, goes into a graveyard, digging up parts of corpses in order to assemble together and animate. Now, Victor Frankenstein clearly intended his creature to be beautiful because he chose the most beautiful individual components from these corpses, but somehow when he added all this together, it became this 8-foot-tall monstrosity whose defining feature was its ugliness.
Man, I just think that's disgusting, going to a graveyard, digging up corpses, and that's just disgusting. But we're telling the basic story of Frankenstein here, how it matters being attractive. Let's get back into the video. There's some other parts I want to comment on here.
Okay, we are told in a very vivid description the disgusting yellow skin that was so thin that it showed the musculature underneath, as well as the watery eyes. The creature was so hideous that right after Victor Frankenstein animates the creature, he leaves and abandons it in disgust. Now, there was something a bit weird about my experience reading this book, because despite it being one of the classics in the horror genre, I was not scared at all. And I can assure you, it's not me, okay? I am a complete scaredy cat. I have not dare watched a single scary movie since I was permanently scarred by...
Okay, Frankenstein is one book I have not read, so I will probably have to put this on my reading list and actually read the book. I have read some of the books by the Brothers Grimm, but Frankenstein is one I have not. So it's definitely going to be on my reading list. And yeah, let's get back into the video.
Mummy Return when I was 5, okay? So it's not my bravery. I think what it is the fact that the monster has a gentle, somewhat rational, and dare I say even ethical soul. And here's what I mean. In the beginning, before the monster goes into this murderous rampage, we are shown that it is good, it is pure, it is gentle. It tries to help people. It saw this little girl who was about to drown and rescued it, only to be shot by the girl's guardian because of how hideous it looked. Or another example is how the creature began to observe a family that lived somewhat isolated in the woods. And after a prolonged period of time of spying on the family up close, it fell in love with the family. It grew to admire it and wanted to belong to such a family. And so it did all these nice chores for the family, right? It cut up firewood, shoveled snow, and it was biding its time, waiting for the opportune moment to introduce itself. And one day, all the children in the family leave, leaving only the blind father in the house, right? And he's blind, so he can't see how hideous the creature is. And the creature is able to strike up a very good conversation with the father and is even able to befriend it to some extent. But then the children come back in the middle of the conversation, see this hideous creature doing God knows what with his father.
Okay, we both know that's strictly a Hollywood film, that most people aren't like that in real life. If you come home, you see a hideous creature with, your blind grandma or grandpa, or an ugly person, you're not going to, what 90% of people would probably do is, oh, hi, who are you? What, who is this? Oh, this is so-and-so, and we become good friends. And they might want to know a little bit more about you, but it's the fact that people would attack someone or just hate on someone, tell you to leave, and just because you're unattractive, that's not likely in human life. Remember, this is a movie, and so majority of human beings that I know aren't like that. The majority of people I know, if they came home and found someone with their grandma, their grandfather, they'd be curious. Who are you? Introduce us. We don't get to, they'd want to get to know you. But in this movie, they came home and found a hideous creature with their grandparent, and so they took pot shots at it. Another thing I wanted to comment on, let's say So let's say this creature like saved this little girl's life. Most people would be grateful, no matter how unattractive you are. They'd be grateful for saving their life. Remember, this is a movie, and the majority of people aren't like that in real life. So another thing I wanted to comment on was they mentioned that this Frankenstein worked for this family for a long time to get recognition. Well, let's put it in perspective in modern, because I really wanted to comment on this particular scene where this guy chopped wood and he did chores around the house for the family, all to gain some recognition. Let's put this in real life perspective, because I have seen sub 5 men, less than desirable guys, get shitted on in the workplace. Not necessarily where I work, but in general, whether it's Walmart, McDonald's, there are certain people that will never get a raise. They're never going to become manager. They're never going to get a promotion. That's just the way it is. So you see that, and I'm just saying. What I'm trying to say is Frankenstein did all this work, and I'm sure the grandfather appreciated it, but his kids did not, because, oh, he looks so hideous. But in real life, if you are a sub 5 guy, you can work as hard as you want for your employer. It won't matter. You get passed up. Chad will get promoted over you. This is a fact. All because maybe you're less than desirable. A more attractive young man that's handsome and attractive will get promoted over you. It's kind of works that way for women. The hotter that she is, the more money she's going to make, especially if she's a waitress or a bartender. Just pointing that out there. So let's get back to the scene. I just wanted to give commentary on this, because in real life, sub 5 guys, especially men, get shitted on. They get passed up. They don't get recognized. Frankenstein, same. Grandpa recognized him, but his kids, because he's unattractive, took shots at him. Remember, this is a movie. This is fiction. So in real life, most people aren't that cruel.
And violently drive the creature away. And it's only after these early failed attempts, it's after being rejected by humanity in a somewhat unfair way, that the creature becomes resentful and goes on this murderous, vengeful rampage. But even on the rampage part, the monster, at least told by the monster itself, feels remorse for most of its murders and its unjust actions. And I think that's quite significant.
Okay, I want to comment again. So when the world treats you badly enough, can everybody hear me okay? Comment below. Can you hear me all right? So in real life, you get shitted on enough at home, at work, school. You get shitted on enough, you're going to retaliate. And you're going to hate on anyone that's successful, anyone that's Chad-like. You know, maybe that's what happened to Charlie Kirk. Maybe the guy was such a loser that he got jealous of Charlie, and that's why Charlie Kirk was killed. He was killed by an incel who was jealous of him. That's just a theory. I'm just pointing that out there. So this is what happens to some guys who get shitted on so much they can't take it anymore, and they go on a murderous rampage. You hear about these mass shootings. Some guys self-delete. I've heard of that. but this explains when you do a search for you know how these you like for mug shots. I noticed a lot of these mug shots are sub 5 men. Very few are attractive at all, like Jeremy Meeks. Very few. Let's get back into the video. He's making some key points here.
When you compare the monster and the remorse it feels with a more classical villain, like Satan from Paradise Lost, evil thou be my good, or Iago from Shakespeare's Othello, none of which feel a kind of remorse for the evil that they do. And so the very fact that the monster still feels remorse means that it still has some kind of, however loose, ethical compass that it feels it has violated. So that's why I say the monster has a gentle, a pure, and even towards the end, maybe an ethical soul. And for me, this is the central question that this book raises, which is how does the ugliness, which is the defining feature of the monster, how does that turn an otherwise ethical soul wicked? The reading that most people gravitate towards is a social reading, that it's only because Victor Frankenstein abandoned the monster like an absentee father, that society is prejudiced against the monster because of its looks and treated it terribly, did it degenerate into this source of evil. So under this reading, ugliness is tied to wickedness because the ugly are prejudiced against by society, and that forms a kind of social resentment. In other words, the creature only starts to conceive of itself as evil because it is recognized, because that's the kind of recognition it receives by prejudiced society.
So true. So true. This guy's making some good key points here that I totally agree with. And like I said, this is why some incels, I relate this to the incels because they really retaliate, where they self-delete because they feel worthless because society just pushes them down and pushes them down. They're passed up for economic opportunity, passed up for raises, passed up for promotions, passed up for good jobs, passed up in the dating market. Attractive women pass them up. It's true. If you was to buy $1 million piece of real estate, are you going to buy it from some dude who's fat, bald, and buck teeth and dressed like a slob? Or are you going to buy this $1 million house from a real estate agent who's wearing a nice suit, cleaned up, drives a decent vehicle, and he looks professional? You think about that for a second. And so if you want to get ahead in this world, you need to conform. I don't want to conform. Then you're going to live in poverty. Society, you may think we're prejudiced, but it's this way with everything. Even the cars we buy. We like things that are aesthetic have been this way. Why do you think grocery stores package their products the way they do? To make them attractive to the eye in the hopes you'll buy their product. That's an absolute fact.
I think this is quite a plausible reading. In fact, reading this book, it made me think of modern day incels. So incels are men who self-conceived, cannot get any women, mostly because of their looks. And this breeds a deep-seated resentment that sometimes ends up in the kind of tragic, monstrous killing sprees that Frankenstein's monster commits. Now, what the incel is after is not just sex. It's not just physical release. You know, they can hire prostitutes, they can still masturbate. What the incel really desires is a kind of romantic recognition. It's a social good that they yearn for, which is why part of the incel community's demands actually mirrors the monster's demand one-to-one. So in the middle of the novel, the creature corners Victor Frankenstein and forces him to build a female creature as a companion. But this is where this gets interesting. He tells Victor Frankenstein, I want you to make a female creature that is as deformed as me, that is essentially as ugly as me. Because only then, with two people or two creatures that are excommunicated from society, is the creature secure that his female will not run away, that his female will stick by him. And in like manner,
Not true. In real life, I've heard many guys say that even the unattractive women. I worked in a restaurant for years, and I hear the waitresses talk. I hear their conversations. Even the um, obese, overweight, we would consider unattractive women do not want unattractive men. They want Chad. They want what they cannot have. Chad. Men are no different. You want beautiful Stacy, right? There's a reason that only fools exist. There's a reason why guys are wanting AI girlfriends, and it's no different. It really is. I have so much to say on this topic, and I really want to get back into the video and let this guy explain it. But yeah, incels, a lot of the incels I know, they just lack ambition. If you're an incel, you lack ambition, that's on you. What, you don't even have so much as a Bobcat badge? You know? Everybody needs to achieve something. Can you play a musical instrument? Are you good at sports? Can you play basketball, baseball, football? What can you do? If you have zero skills beyond playing video games in mommy's basement, I don't feel sorry for you. You need to learn a skill. Learn a musical instrument. Guitars. Women love the man who can play the guitar. I can't explain that phenomenon, but it's absolutely true. So there are incels who try to looks max. Great. I'm all for looks maxing, gym max, get to the gym, workout, looks max, wear some nicer clothes. You know, try to look nice. But you also need to have accomplishments. You need to do something, accomplish something, anything. You may be great at basketball, but you suck at everything else. But you can play basketball. That's something. Maybe you can't play the guitar. Maybe your instrument is the trumpet or the clarinet or the piano. That's something. So my message to the incels, do something. Accomplish something. I can make 1,000,000 points on Pac-Man. No, that's not good enough. No, you need to accomplish something tangible. Let's get back to the video. I mean, I can just go on a rant about the incels. You came here for the video, so yeah.
Incel community, one of its early demands at least, was an ideal called looks matching. It's this idea that people of similar attractive values do and should pair off together. And so what the incel is saying is not that I want a hot girlfriend. They're saying I want an ugly girlfriend.
The problem is even the ugly girls don't go for the incels. That's an absolute fact. They can't even get an ugly one. Just putting that out there. But the incels don't do anything ambitious either. They seriously are lacking ambition.
Again, because with an ugly girlfriend, they feel secure in their romantic recognition. And I think what this goes to show is, number one, this is a kind of real psychology that people are pointing at, about how social resentment can turn a soul wicked. But number two, just how important a motivational force recognition can be. And I think this reading works especially well when you put it into context. Because Mary Shelley was part of the capital R Romantic movement, and her mother, Mary Wollstonecraft, was one of the leading feminists. And both movements tend to trace the origin of human evil, human suffering, not in some immutable quality about the world or even human nature, but in changeable habits and biases and prejudices from society. Okay? So under this reading, the connection between ugliness and wickedness is the prejudice of society. Society itself is to blame for being so looksist, and if only people treated the monster well, like the blind father was about to, then the monster wouldn't have turned out to be so evil. This social explanation is what most people use to explain the connection between the monster's ugliness and its wickedness, but it quickly runs into two major issues. The first one is to say, even if it's purely just the social reactions of society against the monster's ugliness that made it evil, maybe those social reactions against ugliness are innate and are immutable. There is an episode in the book that strongly suggests this, and it's when the monster himself comes up with this capital R romantic idea. Society is prejudiced. Adults who have been raised by corrupt society are going to be unfairly biased against me because of my ugliness, and therefore I'm going to go befriend a child who has not been corrupted yet. The monster goes and approaches a child, and the child is alone, and this is what the child says. "Let me go, monster, ugly wretch. You wish to eat me and tear me to pieces. You are an ogre." What this episode suggests is the human reaction against ugliness, the human reaction towards beauty, is not something.
There's some truth to that. John Stossel did a report on this, on even toddlers. They did an experiment. They brought in an older, less attractive, ugly woman as their teacher. Then they brought in a teacher who was very beautiful, young, very attractive, and they chose the attractive woman over the other woman. These are toddlers, barely 5 and 6 years old. And even with little kids, it's this way. Even babies are this way. They did experiments with babies that they respond positively to an attractive person to a negative person. Do you know what I'm saying? They just respond better to someone who is attractive versus someone who is unattractive, male or female. Kids get scared. The less attractive you are, kids aren't going to approach you. That they're just like, but if you're attractive, they're drawn, they smile at you and they look at you. Little kids, toddlers, babies, they look at things that are attractive. Like I said, we as human beings like things that are aesthetically pleasing. It's not just we like attractive people. We like attractive cars, attractive houses. When you buy a house, the first thing you notice is its aesthetics, the yard, how attractive the house is. The first question you ask is, how much is it? Just like a car. The first thing you notice is how attractive it is, not the price. The price is the first question you ask. But we men buy cars based on looks. That's the first thing. Price is the second thing. It's that way with anything in life. The clothes we buy, we like clothes that are attractive, do we not? Before we buy a new jacket or a new shirt, hey, it's a nice shirt. I love that shirt. Why? It's attractive. It's attractive to the eye. Companies know this. That's why they package everything the way they do. Let's get back to the video. I have lots to say. As far as incels, geomaxing, look, if you're traveling to another country, no, that's not going to solve your problem. It's just not.
Thing that we can control, it's something that is innately built into us. And so the first objection is that even if the mechanism between ugliness and wickedness is purely social, the resentment you feel, the lack of recognition you receive, maybe those social reactions are actually immutable. But there's an even stronger objection here, which is, what if the connection between ugliness and wickedness weren't just through this external social mechanism, but intrinsic and innate. And to understand why that might be, we need to turn to the forgotten discipline of physiognomy. Physiognomy is a discipline that sees a strong connection between one's outer form, especially one's face, and their inner character. And so the most simplistic and reductionist example here would be a straight nose indicates nobility, a flat nose indicates dullness, and a hooked nose indicates crookedness or cunning or fierceness. And when you put it that way, it sounds like a pseudoscience, but I think there's an intuition here that is validated by modern empirical science. There are experiments which show that a smile, even a forced smile, have a way of making participants feel happier, feel less stressed. And that's the kind of intuition behind physiognomy, that there is a subtle connection between the angles of the face and one's inner world. While today, physiognomy is clearly not a respected discipline at all, throughout all of antiquity, all the way up to the 19th century, it was conceived of as a serious science. Plato himself had many physiognomic ideas, and there was even a treatise on physiognomy that is attributed to Aristotle's school, if not Aristotle himself. But one of the peaks of physiognomy was in the 18th century with an author called Johann Lavater, who wrote essays on physiognomy. This was an international bestseller at the time. Mary's father definitely read it. Mary Shelley herself almost certainly read it, and it clearly had made its mark on the novel Frankenstein. And it's the ideas from this lost discipline that most challenge the kind of social explanation. The physiognomy reading states that ugliness does not cause wickedness through an external social mechanism. It indicates that one is already wicked. And if this reading is right, we would have to be suspicious of how the monster accounts and how the monster relays its inner experience, both how pure it was in the beginning and also the remorse it felt in the end for those monstrous deeds. And we do have good reason, good textual reason to do this, because we are constantly warned by Victor. The monster is very eloquent and very deceitful. Under this reading, it's not that the ugliness of the monster, through the prejudice of society, caused the wickedness. It's that the ugliness always hinted at the wickedness of the monster, a latent essence, a latent potential that eventually came out to full bloom throughout the course of the entire novel. The characters that most lend credence to this reading must be the women in Victor's household. That's Elizabeth, his adopted sister, as well as Justine, the maidservant, okay? This is how the adoption of Elizabeth is relayed to us. My mother found a peasant and his wife, distributing a scanty meal to 5 hungry babies. Among these, there was one which attracted my mother far above all the rest. She appeared of a different stock. The 4 others were dark-eyed, hardy little vagrants. This child was thin and very fair. Her hair was the brightest living gold, and despite the poverty of her clothing, seemed to set a crown of distinction on her head. Her brow was clear and ample, her blue eyes cloudless, and her lips and the molding of her face so expressive of sensibility and sweetness that none could behold her without looking on her as of a distinct species, a being heaven sent and bearing a celestial stamp in all her features. Here I think we can see all the classical marks of Lavater, the focus on the lips, the focus on the brows and the eyes, which Lavater thought was most expressive of who one's character really was, and the fact that her noble appearance maps on perfectly to a noble, gentle, sweet, virtuous woman throughout the novel. Even stronger, Elizabeth...
Okay, it's kind of like the story of Cinderella. Remember Cinderella? She had evil stepsisters and evil stepmom, and they did everything they could so she couldn't go to the ball. They made up all these chores for her to do, and she made a fairy godmother. And you know the story of Cinderella, right? She was already beautiful before the fairy godmother put on that beautiful dress, and she meets a handsome prince. And so there are people that are just naturally born more attractive. That doesn't mean that you have a disadvantage if you're born unattractive. You can work on that. We have things today you can do to improve yourself. Improve your diet, go to the gym, put on some better clothes, fix your hair, get your teeth fixed. There are plenty of things in today's modern world you can do to make yourself more attractive. You don't have to live in that rut. I was born unattractive. You don't have to stay in that rut. You can change it. It can be done. It takes a lot of work. Now, you look at this guy right here. Let's take this guy here that you're watching. Look at him. He's well dressed. I mean, we don't know what kind of suit. That may be a $300 suit, $400 suit. We don't know. You can't tell. But he got his hair. He's clean shaved, well dressed. Does he look like a slob? No. Is he Chad? Absolutely not. He's not 6'4". I don't think. He looks like he might be about 5'10" at best. Not everyone can afford those fixes if it has to be do with our face. Not necessarily. You can shave. You can use I use Noxzema every day. I don't use soap. To say not everyone can afford those fixes. That may be true as far as your nose, but dental work is not expensive. Dentists compete for your money. For $3,000 or $4,000, you can get a lot of dental work done, a shitload of dental work done. I know this for a fact because my late wife needed some dental work done, and we had a dentist quote $2,500. Now I'm going, that's cheap compared to, because she had muscular dystrophy, her back surgery, which was $100,000. $2,500 for dental work, nothing. That seemed like, I mean, compared to an average hospital bill or the emergency room, oh my God, that dentists compete for your dollars. So, and you can save up and go on some kind of dental plan. You can make payment arrangements. As a decent looking guy. That's exactly what I was pointing out. The guy speaking is handsome, attractive. Is he Chad? No. Was he born rich? Probably not. But he probably has to work at it. But he is Asian and the ladies run away. No, they don't run away. Not from a handsome guy like that. I'm sure he's got to work at it. He's got to maintain a diet. He's got to hit the gym. There's a lot of self-discipline. He has to work. I know a guy I used to work with. He worked his ass off, studying and school, hitting the gym, and taking care of himself. It's work. This guy that you're looking at, he has to work at it. I guarantee it. He has to put a lot of effort. He's also well-spoken. Yeah. I wish I was as well-spoken as him. It'd be nice. It takes a lot of effort. The ladies run away because he's Asian. No, they don't. That's a myth. Especially in this country. No, I don't think they would. Not from him. He looks too well-educated, well-conformed. He's going to get treated well when he goes out. I guarantee it. If he walked into Walmart dressed like that, people like this guy here would be the new people of Walmart. Oh, look at that guy. He's well dressed. I'm going to give up and move country and start blogging my loneliness. Don't do that. That doesn't work. Geomaxing doesn't work. You got to fix your problems here at home. That's my opinion. I'm all for looks maxing, by the way. Let's get back in the video.
Eventually turns out not to be part of that peasant family, but to be an abandoned daughter of a Milanese nobleman, okay? And this, again, is a very classical trope we're going to find in things like Shakespeare's Winter Tale, where someone who is noble-looking, even if they're among the masses, has a noble character and actually turn out to be from nobility themselves. Okay, that's Elizabeth's case. But Justine's case, I think, is even stronger. So Justine is the maidservant in the Frankenstein household. She's said to be beautiful as well. That beauty is reflected in her beautiful character. She's gentle, she's kind, she's extremely ethical, even when she's wrongfully charged and eventually sentenced to death for crimes she did not commit. And there, Justine, I think, sets up an important counterpoint to the social-only reading of the monster's own degeneration. Because here we have another person who's wrongfully charged, who receives no recognition, who is exiled by society, but does not show any indication of turning to evil that the monster does. Now, there are clear counterexamples in this book as well, and Victor Frankenstein is probably the best example here. Victor Frankenstein is described to us as very handsome, but his character turns out to be cowardly, it turns out to be selfish. But this is not a knock against Lavatar or physiognomy, because Lavatar didn't suggest that there's a one-to-one moral determinism between your outward appearance and your inner character, but simply your outward appearance revealed something about who your essence truly was. In other words, that essence can be, if rarely, overcome through nurture, okay? And the best example here must be Socrates, who famously had a very ugly body, but a very beautiful and good soul. So this was an important example for Lavatar, for all of physiognomy, and as always, I think Nietzsche has the most entertaining telling of the story. Socrates was a plebe. We know, we can even still see how ugly he was. The anthropologist among criminologists tells us that the typical criminal is ugly. Monster in face, monster in soul. When a foreigner who was an expert on faces came through Athens, he told Socrates to his face that he was a monster, that he was harboring all the bad vices and desires, to which Socrates answered simply, "You know me, sir." Socrates agrees with the face reader. Socrates, when he was young, had all kinds of terrible appetites. He was vicious, he was lustful, he was gluttonous. So his face truly did reveal who his character essentially was. That essence was overcome by his philosophical practice. This is how Lavatar, this is how physiognomy explains these kind of edge cases. And so the weaker and much more realistic reading of physiognomy doesn't postulate a moral determinism, but simply that the ugliness, in this case of the monster, revealed that the essence of its soul was always corrupt and bad. So what does all this have to do with us living in the 21st century, an age that is allegedly obsessed with appearances? For me, Frankenstein is a reminder that maybe we aren't obsessed with appearances enough, or at least we don't take it seriously enough. Because by treating appearances as just the surface that is disconnected from the soul, I think our society loses a lot of the paths to reach at that soul which our predecessors had. And I don't just mean the connection between beauty and goodness in man, but things in general. Let me be clear here. I'm not saying physiognomy is right, but I do think it's significant that we are the outliers in Western intellectual history. Not the Greeks, not the Christians, not the early moderns. We are the outliers who do not treat the beauty of something as a strong indicator of its proper functioning and goodness. Looks matter, and a lot more than we moderns think. Shelley's Frankenstein is a reminder of the numerous mechanisms that can connect ugliness and wickedness. But if you want to learn about the opposite side of that coin, if you want to learn how beauty can elevate, then go check out my lecture on Plato's Symposium linked below. Thank you.
Wow. So what'd you think of that, huh? That was very, very, very interesting. I thought that he presented it really, really good. Even his background has to look good. Do we think his background of books is real? I don't know. I didn't pay attention to that. I noticed it, but I was paying more attention to how well he was dressed, how well spoken he was. To see the problem with the incels is they're not at this guy's level. This guy will have anything he wants. I guarantee when he goes out to restaurants, he's treated well. I guarantee it. I don't think he'd have a problem dating. I don't think so. I bet he doesn't need a dating app. He's going to be first in line to get a raise, to get a promotion. He'll have economic opportunities that an ugly 50-year-old fat bald buck teeth man ever would. I guarantee it. This guy that was doing the presenting, look how well put together he looked. I'm just saying, do looks matter, absolutely. And the problem with the incels is they have no ambition. Hello, Julia, just pop in. Yeah, you missed a great presentation. You'll have to watch the replay. We're telling the story of Frankenstein and how it relates to beauty. Does inner beauty matter? Absolutely. But outer beauty gets your foot in the door. That's what you want to accomplish, getting in the door. But inner beauty is way more important because it keeps your foot in the door. Getting in is the first thing. Keeping your foot in the door, that's where inner beauty comes in. And Frankenstein had inner beauty, but society, in the movie, they kind of really shitted on him. Remember, that was a movie. I'm missing teeth. People look down on me. Yeah. Are they teeth that they notice up front? You can have that fixed. I'd shop around for a good dentist and get some bids. I start saving some money and get that fixed. That can be fixed. That is a fixable problem. My looks did nothing. It's like me. I was shopping for. I'm looking at getting a new suit, right? Well, you can spend $10,000 or you can spend $300. There are some men's suit mart, $300. You can get a blazer and a pair of slacks for $300. That's cheap. That's cheap. It really is. I found some good dress shoes at a thrift store. Tomorrow's my day off. Today's my day off too. I'll probably go and check it out. I got other videos I'm going to make today. I wanted to live stream this because this guy presented it in such a way better than I ever could. People really treat you way differently. The better dressed you are, the better the treatments. If you want to be treated with respect, dress for respect. Dress the part. The story of Frankenstein, it's not a new thing. We humans are judgmental on everything. You may say, Jeremiah, I'm not judgmental. Yes, we all are. We may not say it, but we are. We like things that are attractive. It's not just people. Like I said, we like cars that are attractive. Do you not? When you go to a car show, you look at beautiful cars. All those street machines. Think about it. Buying real estate, buying a house. Why do you go to visit state parks? Because of how aesthetically pleasing they are. We like things that are attractive. That's just the way it is. We liked McDonald's the way it was when it had beautiful buildings. Now they look like damn gray shoeboxes. They're ugly. You look at modern streets in America, they're ugly. You go to a foreign country, like you go to Munich and look at the beautiful buildings. There's a reason they have tourists. This guy says, I feel like even the kids back in the 1920s dressed better than us, and those were their scraps. Yeah, back in the days, people really dressed up. Even in the 1950s, still the 1960s, people were still dressing. It started to change somewhat in the 70s. I'd never liked 70s clothes. Oh my God, the leisure suits that Mr. Brady wore in the Brady Bunch. Oh my God. ugly. Oh my gosh. In the 80s, it did improve. But yeah, the 70s were okay in some ways, but in some ways, it was like, it was no. The clothes sucked. Not all of them, but a lot of the clothes in the 1970s, it just wasn't. It's just, I don't know what was going on in the 70s. Tricky Dicky. Yeah, Tricky Dicky. But the 80s and 90s, we had fashion sense in those decades. The grunge look came in the mid 90s. I don't think they were ugly at all. It was a style and looked great. Well, that's my opinion. The 70s clothes, I just didn't like them. I just didn't. 80s I liked, 60s, 50s, but 70s, no. That's something, I don't know. Not all of it. Some of the 70s stuff was actually cool, groovy. Thank you. It's like I said, it's strictly my opinion. But some of the 70s clothes, I guess, were groovy. But looks do matter. So I guess you want to get ahead in life, you're going to have to work on your appearance. It's just the way it is. People say, well, is someone successful because they're well dressed, or are they well dressed because they're successful? I think you got to work at it. It's hard work. And we got a society that wants, it was really nice to have days off. I have to work all weekend. We had better quality clothes back then. Oh, yeah, Julia. Oh, talk about quality. That's a whole nother topic in a way, because the clothes today are less quality. It's called shitification. It's like our products, they call it fast fashion. So Julia's hit on something here. That's a whole topic in and of itself. There are YouTube videos on fast fashion. You are a decent looking guy. You appear to take care of yourself and well groomed, and hair always neat. Well, I have to work at it. I was at the gym today working out. It's my day off, but I still went and got a good workout. I've been at it since I'm 58, so I've been at it for years. I didn't just start. I've been working at it. As far as my skin, I use Noxzema. I don't use soap. So that explains my complexion. But yeah, I have to work at it. I knew a guy I worked with. He's a very Chad, and he's got, the world is his oyster because he's neat, clean, attractive, but he worked out at the gym every day. He worked his ass off. He studied every day in school to get good grades, to get the scholarships he got. Yeah, the world's his oyster because he's attractive, but he has to work at it. The thing you don't understand about attractive people, when you are attractive, you have to work at it to stay attractive. Because if you don't work at it to stay attractive, you're going to gain weight. You'll be out to here. You'll lose teeth. I'm just saying, you got to work at it. It's work. There's no getting around it. If you try to take a shortcut, there's going to be consequences. And this Ozempic thing is a shortcut. Sounds too good to be true, and it usually is. There's going to be a consequence to Ozempic. I don't know what it is yet. Yes, he has to work at it, but if you are born good looking, you are one step ahead of the game. Planet Fitness Hanger 2026 New Year's goals. Thank you. If you're born, yeah, some people are just born good looking, but they can lose that appeal at the same time. Just because you may be born doesn't mean you stay good looking. Just because you're born ugly doesn't mean you stay ugly. I went to school, and I've seen when people have school reunions, right? You've seen good-looking guys or good-looking girls. 20 years later, they're very unattractive. What happened? They got overweight. They let themselves go. You have to work at it. Just because you're born good looking doesn't mean you stay good looking. High school reunions are proof of this. Absolute proof. The guy that was a nerd, geek, dweeb in high school, 20 years later, he's tall, dark, and handsome. What happened? He changed. He started working on himself, improving himself. Oh, yeah, reunions, whether it's high school, college. You go to these reunions and you watch people 10, 20 years later. The person that was an ugly duckling is now beautiful and attractive. The beautiful person is now an ugly duckling. Believe me, I've seen this go both ways. So drop a like, please. Yeah, I do appreciate that. New Year's go. The nerds in school carrying all the school books turn out to be some of the most successful. Yeah. Revenge of the Nerds. Remember Revenge of the Nerds? They really did get revenge. Facebook, all your social media platforms, the tech geeks are now the oligarchs. That's a fact. There's no denying that. Yeah. The tech geeks are the new oligarchs. Absolutely. So I'm still reading your comments. This is a good topic. Do looks matter? Yes, they do. I ordered a Neo. That's a good one. I wondered if they named that robot after Neo on the Matrix. The thing about, now that's a whole nother topic, but the thing about Neo, while everybody's laughing at it and making fun of Neo, you only have to train it to do one thing. If I was to order a Neo, I don't want it as a slave in my house. I want to make French fries at McDonald's for my customers. I want to make French fries for my customers, so I don't have to pay a minimum wage employee. That's what I want Neo to do. It's got a learning model built in. All I have to do is teach it to make French fries. That's it. It only has to do one thing: make fries. But yeah. Oh, wow. We've been on for almost an hour. Wow. This is a good topic. And the guy presented the video so well, so I was doing a video reaction. I might do more video reactions. I need to get StreamYard Pro. So I'm working on that. I'm using it as a companion to marry so I can. Women love confident, successful men. That's absolutely correct. With a good sense of humor. If the woman is worth anything, especially as you get older. Yes. Women love men who can handle business. Yes. Dave is absolutely correct. 100%. They love confident, successful men. You know, you can't fake confidence either. You can't. Not really. Confident men walk a certain way. My Neo doesn't judge me. If I ordered a robot, it wouldn't be for around the house. It would be to make French fries for my customers, to replace the minimum wage workers. I'm just being truthful here. I mean, that's what's coming. That's a whole nother topic, but that's what's coming. This topic is we need more healthy fast food restaurant. I know Good luck on that, right? Yeah, I don't eat fast food. The only time I go order fast food is when I do a food review. As a matter of fact, I went to Taco Bell today because I want to do a food review on the Taco Bell Baja Pie. Well, the one here in town doesn't have Baja Pie. I've been happily married for 35 years, but at my job, I was always hit on by women that work in the office. I am not the best looking guy in the world, but I know my worth. You don't have to be the best looking guy, but it helps if you are. There's no doubt. The better looking you are, the more advantages you have. You want to give yourself every advantage you can. If you are competing to keep your job, getting a job, or you're trying to get a girlfriend, you want to give yourself every possible advantage you could. A new suit, get some dental work done, whatever you got to do. You're competing with how many other guys for the same girl? You're competing with how many people for that job? How many people are you competing with just to keep the job you have? So you don't get laid off. You're not the one getting laid off. But, I better not catch Neil looking at the TV when I'm gone. Like I said, I'd hire Neo to be an employee at the restaurant, not for around the house. No, I want him to make French fries. Then I'll get another Neo to make quarter pounders. I'll get another Neo to make the shakes. I'll get another one to make the drinks. I'll have every employee at McDonald's replaced with Neos. All they have to do is learn that one skill. Then I can scale it, and I'll network them together. All that can be done. But do looks matter? Yes, yes, and yes. Man, I can't stress that enough. I really can't. You go to the guy that was presenting this video, look how well dressed he is. He was. Look how comported he was. That's what I'm talking about. You watch any newscast, look how well dressed they are. I was watching Smallville the other day. Everybody on Smallville is attractive. All the characters, Lois Lane, Lana Lang, all attractive. I'm renting the Neo out as a home cleaning service. We clean unseen. Yeah. But yeah. So that's my advice to you is do looks matter. Geomaxing doesn't solve anything. No, you need to solve your problems where you're at. Work on yourself. There's another maxing that the incels do that I'm not fond of at all. Women do not like men who are not confident and will not protect them and every way of life. Dave, you are spot on. Having a positive attitude is important when you go on date. Yes, it is. Shallow women get burned by great-looking men. Yeah, it goes the other way around, too. It goes both ways. The sword cuts both directions. But like I said, I was hearing some women talk, even not so attractive women want attractive men. Unfortunately, there's a lot of guys that I meet, they just don't take care of themselves. And they've given up. They have given up. They won't even make an effort to do anything. Anything. The incels complain, but what are they doing? If you're looks maxing, maybe you're doing something. You need to get an accomplishment under your belt. My dad, he's 81. What accomplishments has he got? You look around the property, all the buildings he built were built with his two hands. Every the barn, the house we lived in as kids, all the other work buildings he's got, all built with his two hands. Those are his trophies. He was married for 40 plus years, had 3 kids. That's his trophies. My dad would be considered accomplished. He'd have no problem getting dates because he's accomplished. He's got plenty of trophies, plenty of receipts, lots of them. The young men today don't have anything. They have nothing, no skill set at all. A lot of people give up, but we have to keep in mind as we age, sadness and depression can or will set in, and that's tough to beat. Yes, I know. I've been through sadness and depression. I've gone through that, but I have overcome it, and it can be overcame. You can overcome it. It is possible. I can show that on the screen. Doing my best to read comments. There's 8 people in here. That's good. The topic is, do looks matter? Yes, they do. Well, your dad was a very hard worker. That's awesome. Yeah. My dad would have no problems getting dates. If he wanted to start dating, he could. Even though he's 81. I bet, even though my dad's 81, he could still attract a 30-year-old. You think not? I bet he could. The only problem is the 30-year-old's going to be shocked when my sister inherits everything. So she thinks, I'm going to hook up with Jeremiah's dad because I'm going to inherit all his money. Wrong. The family, all the plans have been set. So, yeah. So, again, well, your dad was a very hard worker. 30 to 80. I'm just saying, my dad's 81. Well accomplished. I bet he could, because he's confident and accomplished. When my wife gets home from work and tells me about any problems, first thing I say to her, is there anything I can help you with? Or I'll take care of it. Women love that, but you have to follow through. Absolutely. Man, Dave is spot on here. I agree. Man, he's spot on. Well, he's been married for 35 years. That tells you something. David should have his own YouTube channel giving out this good advice. It's damn good advice. Well, we've been on for over an hour, and sooner or later I have to cut it off. This is a topic, do looks matter? And my answer to that is a resounding yes. It gets your foot in the door. You're competing either to get a date with an attractive woman or man. You're competing to get a job or keep your job because of AI, so you don't get laid off. Do looks matter? Hell yeah, but you got to have inner beauty to go with it. The guy stated in the video about inner beauty that sometimes what's on the inside reflects what's on the outside. There's a lot of proof in that. You see someone, their hair is a certain color, they're wearing certain kind of clothes, listen to certain kind of music. You know who they are by the clothes they wear. They are demonstrating what bands they listen to. Yeah, that doesn't mean a lot, but it states something of their inner beauty. I have noticed that with the people that are middle to upper middle class. The movies, books, music is a certain style. The people that are lower class listen to a certain style of music. I noticed that. And they also dress a certain way. I have noticed that too. Yeah, right down to the kind of music they listen to. Absolutely. That's very noticeable. Um, so, yeah, inner beauty is important, but outer beauty can be a reflection of inner beauty. The outer beauty is the first thing you notice, even when buying a car. The first question you ask is how much, but you notice how beautiful the car is before you crack open the hood. What's under the hood? I do have a YouTube channel, and my wife is very successful, and she is a psychiatrist. Cool. Awesome. Well, I'm going to have to let everybody go. It's hard to say au revoir, so au gratin. Still got a couple other videos I want to do today, but I'm stuttering a lot. Um, it's hard to say au revoir, so au gratin. We're going to have to let everybody go. Hello from Sacramento, California. You arrived in here kind of late because I'm getting ready to say goodbye. And au gratin. Dating and looks is a big topic. Might want to do another video. Take care. Yes. My most successful videos have been about lonely men and dating. Actually, I went through my algorithm and I noticed that people really like that topic. So it's hard to say au revoir, so au gratin. We have to let everybody go. So au gratin, everybody. I still got a couple of videos I want to shoot, and you can watch this on the playback. I retired at 58 due to double neck and double lumbar fusion, but we have been investing in the stock market and real estate, so we're all set. And I go on welfare. Great testimonial from Dave. I was always deep risk taker and the investor. Man, I love this guy, Dave. He's so spot on. All right. Au gratin, everybody. Au gratin.